Hi everyone, welcome to the Lions podcast. My name is Gemma Francis and I'm your host for today. We've got some great guests with us today. We're actually going to be talking about what is it that you need to be a passionate leader. So please welcome our guests. We've got Gary Spicer, who is the Executive Director of Imagine the Day, which is the charity that oversees the Lions Project. And we've got Shell Perris, who is the Lions leader. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about passionate leadership. And you're both leaders. So I want to know, why is it important to be passionate in your leadership?
Well, I guess my first answer is if there's not a fire in your belly to do what you want to do, you're not going to keep going. And I think, when you get the call or you get an idea and you know it's God, whether it be a business, whether it be a ministry, a church, whatever, there's got to be a fire inside of you that takes you further than you can take yourself. Now, we could call that the Holy Spirit. We could call that a lot of things. But I think over the years of leading myself, I think it's been the fire inside of me that's kept me burning on. And I think, knowing you're doing what God wants to do, knowing that you're in your zone, is really important. But, passionate leaders have to have a fire. When I meet a leader who's kind of like nearly apologizing for what they do, or like they're always tired, or, we all get tired, or they're weary. It's kind of like, grow up, get a fire inside of you, boy. Because the point is, you're not going to go far without that fire.
Yeah.
And, you girls, you lead stuff, and you know that what takes you the extra mile is that fire. I'm born for this.
Yeah.
And because I'm born for it, I'm going to do it with passion and fire.
Yeah.
So I think that fire is really important.
Really important.
And that's what gets you through. That's what gets you through the moments where undoubtedly you will have times where you feel, I'm not good enough, I can't do this is really hard, this is really challenging, this is taking everything I've got. And it's that fire.
Yeah.
It's that passion that gets you through that. It's that thing that helps you to wake up in the morning. It's that thing that is your get up and go. It's there in you. It's right there in the middle. It's the thing that's firing up every part of you.
And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't get over the criticism, because you would it's that helps you find solutions to problems.
Absolutely. There's so many setbacks. As an entrepreneur and as a pioneer, one thing you can expect is setback. One thing you can expect is negativity, criticism, people saying it'll never happen.
Yeah.
And actually, it's that passion and that fire that tells you, this can happen.
Yeah.
That gets you through those moments when maybe other people don't believe in what you're doing or can't see how it can happen. It's the fire that shows you that it is, and this is what God's asked you to do.
I mean, it does make you a little reckless as well, in your leadership, if I'm honest, because there's a thing called the extra mile. And one thing pioneers and, obviously entrepreneurs have to do is go the extra mile with their time, with their sacrifice. It's not all glory. In fact, there's very little glory in it, if I'm honest. But the issue is there's that drive that goes, I was born for this.
Yeah.
And so because I was born for this and there's a fire in my belly, I'm going to do this. I mean, I did have a season in my life, quite a few years ago now, where, I was doing what I loved, and then kind of like for a period of time, I wasn't able to do that. And it was weird, really, because I thought, I'll have a rest. This will be fine. But it was like the phone stopped.
Yeah.
First thing happened, the phone stopped.
Right.
Then people stopped kind of like calling me. They stopped. My purpose kind of really went to sleep for a while. I hated it. And I realised even in that point, it wasn't like I was just born to live. I was born for purpose. And unless I get up in the morning for purpose with a fire in my belly, this whole life is going to be pretty boring.
Yeah.
Now, I know not everyone's wired like that, but don't go into leadership if you're not wired like that. Don't go into pioneering if you're not wired like that. Because as Shell rightly says, there's going to be challenges that come that'll try and knock you off course. And that fire, that passion that God has put in you, really, for his idea upon your life, is definitely worth getting out of bed for. And the fire gets you to the place that you need to go to.
I think entrepreneurs are very optimistic people, because you always have to see opportunity in adversity. Yeah. And that's what keeps us going, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think within that fire, we also get to a place of what I call creative thinking.
Yeah.
Creative problem solving. We have to have that. And the passion, again, drives us to think, this seems impossible. but we're going to get through this, round this, over this somehow. And I mean, you know, not being funny, Gemma, you know, during COVID, yourself, when you were trying to run your project, I remember us having many conversations. I'm with yourself, Shelley. You know, it's like we are in an impossible situation. But while we keep dreaming, while we've got the fire in our belly, we're going to creatively think how we can get around this. May not be the best, but it's going to be the best in the day we're living.
Exactly.
And that's why we all sit here today.
Yeah, exactly. Finding a way through it.
Yeah.
Perfect. And what do you think about passionate leaders being outstanding communicators?
Well, I think if you can't communicate your vision and your strategy and how you're going to get there, there's a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And you've got to be dynamic. You've got to be able to communicate your project dynamically in a way that is going to fire up other people as well. You know, fire isn't something, and passion isn't something that you keep for yourself. It's something that you have to constantly give out to other people. It's something that you have to build into your team and your volunteers and your supporters and your prayer warriors and your, you know, all those people who are on the journey with you. That fire, it stems from you. Ultimately, that fire stems from God in you. But the fire for that vision and that purpose stems from you. You share it. But the important thing to remember with that is that as you share it, you have to find a way of that fire within you constantly being fueled.
Right.
So it needs to be fueled by God, first and foremost. It needs to be fueled by the people that you have around you, the things that you choose to allow to inspire you, things like the books you read or the podcasts that you listen to, or the people that are speaking into your life. Where is that fuel coming from so that it can ignite the fire in you that you can then pass on to other people? You know, because fire spreads fast. It can spread really fast. And I think the way that we communicate is a factor of how fast that fire spreads.
Yeah, I think, you know, communication is vital. Not all leaders are the best communicators, but the heart is the best communicator.
Yeah.
And so I might not in the words say it the best I can, or I may not be great with words, but people look for heart.
Yeah.
And they look for the fire in the heart. And sometimes if you just get up and say, I can't but do this. I have to do this. Who's going to join me?
Yeah.
You know, I've done that sort of call a number of times on a number of projects, you know, and it's been really hard what I'm calling people to, but I found people run towards it.
Yeah.
You know, when people say, I can't get any volunteers on board and, you know, no one wants to join me. Well, I would question whether they're communicating fire and heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, the cause which comes with that generally lights people. You know, it's like, I have to do this. I'm going to do it if you're not joining me. I remember years and years ago when I was a youth pastor, so it wasn't that many years ago, but I was a youth pastor and we were just starting out pioneering this youth, and we had about 5 youth. And we weren't growing that quick, but I've got a fire in my belly. And I said to God one day, I said, what do you want me to do? He said, every Wednesday, I want you to prayer walk around your city. And he said, I want you to invite the youth to come, but if no one comes, you still do it.
Right.
And so there was only about 5 or 6 youth at the time. And I said to the youth, we have youth on Friday, but on Wednesday for an hour, we're going to prayer walk around the city. We're going to lay hands on the school, the fire, everything. You know, it's mad. There's no strategy, just do it. But it was fire. You know, we're going to do it. If you don't come, I'm going to do it by myself. And of course, inside I'm thinking, oh, I ain't doing this by myself. But the point was, I would have. Anyway, all 5 came, and then 10 came. And it became the most powerful part of our youth group for about 3 or 4 years, where we prayer walked every Wednesday. And it was like, I don't think the strategy was that great, but the fire.
Yeah.
If you don't, I still will.
Yeah.
You remember the 3 Hebrew men, you know, in the Bible that says, you know, even if God don't turn up, we're still going in.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of do or die, if you want to put it like that way. I'm called to this. I'm going to do it whatever. I think really attracts people. I think people run to that kind of vision and fire.
Yeah.
Because they think, I want to go on that journey.
Yeah.
And I'd say to them, this is going to be impossible. We're not going to be able to do this. But it's like, people go, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's when you kind of get up there and say, well, I've got this problem. Yeah, it's a big problem. I don't even know if we can solve it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I might give it a go. But, you know, if we fail, we fail.
Yeah.
Who's going to join that?
No one.
No fire.
No fire. And that's how you find like-minded people, isn't it? You know, the people that really you are drawn to that fire, they're the people you want on your team.
And you're lighting fires in them, remember?
Yeah.
If you've got a fire, you're lighting it in them.
Yeah.
Suddenly go bang,
Yeah.
go, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I remember another situation, again, with youth, there used to be this thing in my day called 1830 holidays, okay? And that was where all the young people went for whatever they went for, okay? But it weren't Christian, okay? It weren't Christian.
Right.
And I remember the youth group was growing, and some of them, I saw these brochures under their kind of like chairs while we're having youth meeting. I picked one up and thought, whoa, what is this? And I remember looking, I thought, I'm going to kill them. That was my first thing, I'm going to kill them. And then I went home that night and thought, I've got to kill these young people. Why are they looking at such things? Why are they thinking of going on such things? And God said, because you're not giving them a purpose.
Wow.
And I came back the following week and announced I was taking all the youth on mission. And we were going to go to Poland. We're going to raise the money somehow. We're going to see lives transformed. It's going to be so much fun, but we're going to be full on for Jesus. The brochures disappeared.
Amazing. Wow.
And sometimes, rather than just saying no, we present an alternative with fire. And I tell you, it's not just young people. People will follow that.
Yeah.
We just got to be leaders with passion that present an alternative that's better than what they're living.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's true because, a lot of people want someone or something to follow and belong to.
Yeah.
They want a cause
Definitely.
that they can they can put their lives to. And people are looking for that. People are absolutely looking for that. And so if as a leader, you can communicate something with passion and fire that goes, I want some of that. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want those shining eyes.
Definitely.
You want the people that you're communicating to have shining eyes that just light up because they're so inspired by what you're saying and what you're inviting them into that they just think, I've got to be a part of that. I've got to be a part of that. Jesus did it. He did it in the most, amazing way. Sometimes I think that the Bible sort of portrays this Jesus who was, almost kind of, we say meek and mild, don't we? But Jesus must have had so much fire in his belly, so much passion to want people to enter the kingdom of heaven. And he just had this beautiful way of communicating something because it was his heart that came through. It was dynamic because of how he presented this thing, how he invited people on the journey, how he gives people that cause to live for that's far greater than ourselves. And that's what you've got to be able to do as a leader. You've got to be able to invite people onto that journey.
I mean, it's
Definitely.
Jesus with the 12,
Yeah.
Think about it. They were businessmen. They were professional people.
Yeah.
They'd already got a purpose.
Yeah.
But he called them to a greater purpose. And they laid down their nets. They laid down their professions. With all the risks that would have took in that day. We talk about, that day. But that day, that would have been total risk.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we're going to follow you. So he must have he had a cause, he had a fire. And he had a bigger mission to call them to than they were ever going to live by themselves. And I honestly think those three things, as leaders with passion, we got to call people to. There's too much passionless leaders in this nation. I know they're going to be shouting at me right now if they're listening, but there are. We've got to get full of passion, full of fire, and people will follow fire.
Yeah.
They won't follow an idea.
Yeah.
They won't even follow a vision alone. They'll follow a vision with fire.
Yeah.
And that they can participate in. So it's an invitation. It's a call.
Yeah.
As church and as Christians, we need to get back to that.
Yeah.
But we got to have to fire ourselves first.
Definitely.
But fire isn't something that you can cultivate on your own.
Right.
Fire is something that God puts in you. Kind of fire is that thing where you can pray and you can ask God for that fire.
Yeah.
But it can't be something that you muster up yourself because a self-flamed fire is, it's pointless because
Right.
it becomes about us. It's not about Jesus, is it? And whether our project is Christian, mainstream, whatever, that fire within us has got to be cultivated by the Holy Spirit. It's got to be put there by God because people see through false fires.
Yeah.
If your fire's there because you want to promote you, people see that.
Yeah.
Whereas if your fire's there because you want to promote something of the kingdom, people also see that. And that is the thing that people want.
I think it's really interesting. I have this little pet thing. I'll get shot for this one as well. But, come and work for Gary Spicer Ministries. Get out of here. I just, it's something, the cause has to be greater than Gary Spicer.
Yeah.
The fire that we, cultivate or burns in us has to be more than my leadership, more than me. And it's not even just an invite to give, it's an invite to go.
Yeah.
It's an invite to participate. If you don't come, You know, it's like I'd say, Jim, if you don't come on this journey, you know, that's going to be a massive loss for both of us. You know, I believe God, you know, and look what we can achieve together. That's again with ITD and the Lions, you know, we're saying we can achieve more together than we can by ourselves.
Yeah.
But the fire drives us to give that call. So the call is never about come to me. The call is all about come to Christ and his cause that he's put on my heart, and let's together see how we can change the world.
Yeah. And another thing about being a passionate leader is about being compassionate.
Yeah.
And about giving for the sake of giving. And when people see you doing that, that makes them want to jump on board, right?
Yeah. I mean, I always think, how can I not be compassionate when I've had so much compassion from Jesus?
Yeah.
You know, like, how can you not be a compassionate leader? And I think it's really important that we don't allow our passion to take over and make us tunnel visioned in things. You know, sometimes you can be almost overly passionate about something to the point where you forget about everything else. You don't see what else is going on around you. You're just like, woof, we're going here.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's having that passion, but like you say, having compassion at the same time, and being able to look around and see what's going on.
Yeah, so compassionate passion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're trying to say, which
Yeah.
I don't even know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know, deliver our passion compassionately. You know, it's the same with like sometimes showing grace. It's like, you know, grace is sometimes people say, oh, just give me a brown. So sometimes I've got to tell the tough things gracefully. And we've got to live the passion compassionately.
Yeah.
And I think that then brings the marriage together, like what Shell's saying, you know, that we can not get too tunnel vision or too driven. Some leaders are really driven. So, you know, it's like I'm driven by the fire, but I can't be driven to, how can I put it, ruin people on the journey or drive them into the ground, whatever the statement may be. We're going to go on a journey, and when we need to go to an oasis, we're going to go to an oasis and have a drink. Then we'll go back into the desert and do the walk again. Then we'll look for an oasis. It's kind of like knowing we're going on a journey together. We're going somewhere that God's called us to go. We're going to see lives transformed in one way or another. But we're going to kind of have a bit of an oasis on the way. In other words, we can have fun on the way as well. You know, all those things. Because if everything's intense, you know, no one enjoys it.
Yeah.
So we can be intentional without being intense. And I think people need to divide that. You know, often I see leaders who are intense and they say, oh, I'm just being intentional. No, they're not. They're being intense with their intentionality.
Yeah.
We can be intentional with our passion and compassion and lead well and get people to enjoy. I want people to enjoy the journey, even when there's impossibilities on it. But when there's impossibilities, we'll take a pause, we'll pray, we'll go to an oasis and go, God, what you say now? Because we don't know which way to go, but we're together on the journey. And I think people love that, you know. And I've taken people on mission. I've actually seen people walk, you know, the lame walk. And I've had people with me while we've prayed. You know, I've got people right now all around this country that would tell stories when they went on mission. It wasn't just we went to a country.
Yeah.
You know, we saw things happen. We put ourselves in the position to say, God, you're going to perform a few miracles here. And we've seen stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and people, not just me, every one of those people tells a story because they were there. And that becomes a real milestone in their walk. Fuels them.
Yeah, certainly does. And passionate leaders, they become resourceful, don't they? They find strengths in other people. And what do you think about that?
I mean, you've got to be able to find the strength in you.
Yeah.
That passion in you when other people don't see it, when it feels like it's disappeared, when it feels like, oh my goodness, how on earth are we going to do this? It's that resilience, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that drive to keep moving forward. And you know, you have got to fuel that fire. I know we've kind of already touched on it a little bit, but it's so important because, you know, a fire, when you light a fire, like you think of a campfire, it's really difficult to get a fire going. It's really, really hard to get a fire going. But once the fire's going, as long as you keep topping it up with wood and fuel, it keeps burning until you stop.
Yeah.
And when the fire's gone, it's difficult then to get it going again.
Yeah.
And so it's maintaining that fire, you know, and that comes from deep relationship with God. That comes with, you know, that it comes with going to God. It comes down to being with Jesus and it not being a self-fueled fire.
Yeah.
You know, because there's loads of things that I've done in ministry where I look at them and I think, did I do that in my own strength? Or was that Jesus working through me? And I think sometimes the line's quite thin.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things that I've maybe been too self-reliant and I've fueled the fire myself rather than allowing Jesus to be the one that's fueling it. And it's really obvious, the difference. I feel the difference. I know when I'm doing something in my own strength, and I know when I'm doing something that's fueled by God.
Right.
And the things that are fueled by God are so much more impactful and so much more amazing than anything I could muster up in my own strength. And so again, it's having the humility as a leader to be able to say, I don't want this to be something that I can just do. I want this to be something that God is doing through me and I have the privilege of being part of.
That's great.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that is, because I think I'm not so sure I always know when I'm doing it in his strength or my strength.
Yeah.
It's not as defined as that for me, personally. I want to do it in his strength. And I think the big thing is knowing, you know, on a car, you got to gauge your fuel, ain't you? Going near empty. We've even got now, tells us how many miles we can go until we dry up. And I think in our lives, we've got to be aware of that gauge. And I think there is a gauge that we know about ourselves. You know, it's like, and doing things in my own strength, I can't tell you, I wouldn't be telling the truth. I pray about everything, but I believe God's with me in everything.
Yeah.
And I've invited him to be with me in everything. And that might be a weakness on me, but I also think it's a grace on me as well that, you know, he still uses me when, you know, I'm thinking I'm doing this in my own strength. But it is true, when you're doing things in your own strength, the gauge goes down. But it, you know, we just got to make sure it don't go empty. Or as Shell just said, you know, with the fire going out, it's very hard to relight a fire.
Yeah.
An old fire, very hard.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's knowing that gauge, and it's making sure that we know how we fill up time with God, reading, be with friends that speak faith into us. You know, there's enough fun suckers out there anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, kind of like,
true.
you know, tell us we can't do, and then go, you shouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, in my flesh, I want to thump them. In my spirit, I just wish they'd had the same revelation because they're missing out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we do get frustrated with that, but, you know, I don't like too many fun suckers around me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know some people who even call themselves fun suckers. That's even sadder, isn't it?
But people show passion in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think we have to appreciate that. You know, like I'm a very outwardly passionate person. You know, like you can tell immediately if I'm kind of into something. I'm just like, yes, you know, kind of really showing it. Whereas some people are passionate but show it in a completely different way.
Definitely.
And so I don't think that we can necessarily kind of look at the way that somebody is in their passion and say, well, you are either passionate or not passionate. I think there's different ways of expressing passion. For me, it's the depth. It's that kind of, passion is something that is beyond surface level. Passion isn't something that's just kind of sat there floating on top of the water. It's that stuff that's kind of right at the bottom, that's underpinning things, that's creating the kind of space that water fills. And it's, I don't think you can, well, I guess it's a question. Can you be passionate and it kind of not be deep?
No, I don't think it can't be deep, but I think people, as you say, express themselves different ways. I just want to see people have a conviction about something. You know, you know, they don't have to have a party. I mean, okay, there might be a fun sucker, but get a conviction about something. Get a reason for getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, well, I went to church on Sunday. God bless you. The issue is, what are you doing 7 days a week? How are you living? What are you doing? And, you know, even if we're working secularly, do that well.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you are, you know, seize every opportunity. And so sometimes I'm thinking, no, you don't have to shout from the mountaintop, you know, you don't have to laugh all the time, but blooming get a conviction about something that you were born for this reason, you're born for this season. Yeah. And as you know, as Esther said, born for such a time as this. If we don't believe that, we might as well go to the grave.
Yeah.
And then God decides where we go to heaven or not.
We went to speak to a group of people a while ago, and it just felt like, oh my goodness, it was just like, come on, people.
Really?
Like, come on, people.
This was just Christian gathering.
Right.
Yeah, it was just like, it was, and these were people who, you know,
Next generation leaders.
Yeah, next generation
Right.
leaders.
Wow.
And I was just thinking, what on earth
Oh, no.
are we doing? Because it was like we just wanted to stand there and shake them and say, will you please get some fire in your
I
belly?
actually spoke on fire because I was so frustrated.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like treacle. And these people, you know, I've got to be careful what I say, but these people were, you know, positioning themselves in many ways to minister for Jesus. And I thought, I ain't coming to your church.
Right.
I'm not coming to your ministry. You kill me. But I thought, what a sad that people are positioning themselves maybe to learn head knowledge, but have no fire.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, we've got to get, you know, a generation rise up with fire in their belly, whether they lead churches, whether they lead ministries, whether they lead businesses, you know, whether it's all in the marketplace, at least have some fire, at least have some conviction.
Yeah.
Because otherwise life is downright boring.
Yeah.
I had to sit down with a friend of mine once and just say, I am spiritually dying, because I was in a kind of a setting where it was just so full of people who lacked fire
Right.
and lacked passion and lacked conviction and lacked just a sense of, I've got something to live for. It was so dead. It was so boring. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's just not me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just had to get out of that situation because it was killing me. It was like this fire. I had to kind of work doubly hard to keep, you know, fuel, because it was just sucking the life out of me. And it's really important as leaders and entrepreneurs, we're in places where that fire is fanned.
Yeah.
And I want to speak to everyone that's listening today, because the issue for me is this isn't just for entrepreneurs and pioneers. If you've not got a reason to get out of bed in the morning with a fire in your belly to even just do your job well, love your family well, you know, love yourself well, then, you know, it's just not a life that God created. That's not the life God created. When he says, you know, I've created you for abundance,
Yeah.
you know, the whole thing is abundance, is living the best life out for you. And so I don't mean everyone's, you know, perhaps like me and Shell's got to shout it from the mountaintops. So I don't want people to put off and go, oh, well, that's their personality. Get out of it. That's an excuse. You know, everyone, quiet, melancholic, needs to get a fire in their belly so they know why they were born and live it out well. And they will change their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes different personalities to change different elements. No one's saying you've got to be a personality, but get a fire
Yeah.
and get some passion. And I do feel, you know, with the amount of Christians that live in this land and beyond, you know, we can change the world. I believe that.
Yeah.
But we ain't going to change the world being half soaked and half dead.
Yeah. And passionate leaders, they take action. They're risk takers.
Yeah.
They're the kind of people that move things forward. And that's what it's all
Well, they
about.
don't have the fear of getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, look, none of us getting it wrong, you know, and Shell's more of a perfectionist than me. But, you know, I don't always, you know, worry about getting it too wrong.
Yeah.
But the point is, you've got to be an overcomer, haven't you?
Yep.
And if I got it wrong this time, I'll hopefully not get it wrong next
Yeah.
time.
And you learn
But I
from
do
it.
have people that get so fearful of getting it wrong, they never do anything.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, come on. God's not asked you to be perfect. He's asked you to overcome. So let's become an overcomer, an imperfect overcomer. I believe God celebrates more than anyone.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
rather try and fail.
Yeah.
Than
And
never
never try at all.
Exactly.
And it is, isn't it? It's that sense of let's just do this. I do think that when God knows your heart and when he knows what he's put in you, and you know, he's got your back. Like he has totally got your back. You know, when you like I think of one of my kids starting to walk, you know, learning to walk, and you stand them up on the feet and you know they're going to fall over, but you want them to try.
Yeah.
Because it's in the trying that they end up learning how to walk in the first place. And I sometimes feel like that with God. It's like he's kind of standing us on our feet and he goes, I know you're going to fall over. I know you're going to wobble, but I want you to just keep trying to walk, because in your keeping on trying to walk, you're going to be able to run.
Yeah.
And you'll run far.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
And we're not perfect people. We're not going to get it right first time.
No.
That's why it's important to remain teachable. Passionate leaders remain teachable
Absolutely.
so that we can carry on the journey.
Yeah, we're lifelong learners, and we need to keep that open of lifelong learners so that, you know, we also keep fresh and we're not delivering stale bread, as they say. So, yeah, I believe that absolutely.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's not staying lonely as well, innit?
Yeah.
You know, so like I think about the comment that you made about me being a perfectionist and you maybe not so much.
I'm glad you like that, Sharon. I'm glad everybody likes it.
No, it's but we work well together because actually we meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, we meet somewhere in the middle.
What I'm saying in that is that, it's important to have people around you that you're on that leadership journey with that maybe don't operate in the same way that you might operate, but actually you together, you bring the best out of each other.
You
on
bounce
the
off each other.
ITD team, we've got a diversity of personality.
We do.
But we've got everyone with the same heart.
Yeah.
And I think, iron sharpens iron. And when iron sharpens iron, there's always a few sparks as well. People need to understand.
Yeah.
But that's not detrimental. That's positive. We're sharpening each other. So I think, we need to be around people that sharpen us. And I do thank God for Shell. She sharpens me.
Thank God for you too, guys.
Well, guys,
It's now time, Gemma, to end it.
we've come to the end after that. But thank you so much for talking to us about being a passionate leader. And then actually that's given us quite a good fuel for our fire. So I hope that's inspired you today and I hope you've enjoyed listening. Tune in next time. We'll have some more great subjects for your entrepreneurial journey. Take care. God bless.